Hey everyone, and welcome to Anthony's Career Advice. My name is Anthony, and you guessed it, today I'm going to try to provide you with career advice. So today's topic is going to be about interests. Now, as we all know, interests play an important part in our lives, especially in our professional lives. It makes sense for us to do things for 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, 30 hours a week, whatever amount of time you work, and enjoy it and have a sense of interest in it. But sometimes it's a challenge to try and find that, regardless of where you are in your professional life. We sometimes lean on inventories to help us identify that. We sometimes look for assessments or tests to tell us what our interests are or to help us identify it. But there are other ways, and in this video I want to focus more so on a practical, quick way of being able to get started in this process. Right? This is not the definitive way, this just complements a lot of other things that anybody would be doing if they chose to go down the path of exploration. Okay? So some questions to start to think about when trying to identify areas of interest are, well, what do you like doing in your free time? That's important. Now, sometimes we don't associate things that we do for leisure with work, or sometimes we don't want to, but it's still important to identify it. And there's no harm in not wanting to do a hobby professionally, but there is value in being able to identify, because part of this process of identifying interests may provide fulfillment not just in your professional life, but also in your personal life, right? And then we start thinking about other questions, focusing on accomplishments. Which ones have been the most fulfilling and why? See, an emphasis on the why, that's important. So a lot of the work that you'll have to do when trying to define areas of interest is in the details. So if you say something's of interest, why? What experience are you tying it to? And you have to tie it to an experience, because if you don't, then you have to question how important is this? Because it's clearly taking up space. And if you believe that it is, but you're uncertain, well, that's when you start to put on your detective hat and start doing some investigating, okay? Then you can start looking at a question like, well, if I look back in my career, what jobs have I enjoyed and why? Whether they were tied to your training or not is irrelevant. Doesn't hurt, but you want to not have that filter. Look at everything that you've done and say, what did I enjoy most about those? Or what within reason could I recall that I enjoyed? Is it the subject matter? Is it the industry? Is it the relationships? Is it the interpersonal communication skills that I developed? Whatever it is, start paying attention to that, right? And if it's too much of a challenge, take a break and ask yourself another question is, are there issues on a grander scale that concern me, right? Is there something that's bigger than me that I would like to work on or work towards providing a solution towards? It could be. That could be where you really want to invest your energy and effort. So take some time to think about it. I think we can all agree that global warming is a problem. How big of a problem? You know what? It ranges based on what people's beliefs are. But I can clearly say that if someone says that this is important to me, you have to ask yourself, how important? Important enough to contribute, and if so, in what way? How do I want to solve this problem or have a positive impact, right? Another thing is sometimes, and I think we're all guilty of this, if it's not daydreaming about winning the lottery or inheriting a sum of money from your great uncle who you've never met before, or whatever the case is, right? We daydream. And sometimes we daydream about what life would be if I was doing, and then you fill in the blank. So ask yourself that. If I'm daydreaming or I'm imagining or I'm even just reflecting on what life could have been, paint that picture. There's some truth to all of that. There are nuggets of truth that are going to be beneficial. So take the time to invest and look into that, okay? Another thing is what activities have you participated in? Right? Now you think back and say, well, is this just tied to work? Could be. There could be committees or events that you're a part of. It could be tied to your time as a student, depending on where you are in your professional life. It could be tied to areas of worship too. Whatever is really important to you, think about those activities, kind of like accomplishments, but we sometimes think of accomplishments as, here's how I was graded, whether it's at work or in an academic setting. Or sometimes we have to look at it as, what do I participate in? And how does it provide me with a sense of joy? A good question to ask yourself, is there something that I could teach? Or if there was a course that I would like to teach, do I know what it is? Right? Feeling like you're an expert in something, a subject matter expert, makes us feel a certain way. Like I know I feel guilty for sharing videos like this because I think my 10 plus years of experience have provided me with some level of insight and context, and I'm always learning, right? I'm human, I'm always going to make mistakes, just like everybody watching this. But it's important to be able to say, is there something that you feel confident about or comfortable talking about? And if so, what is that thing? Take some time to think about that one. Two last questions that I think are helpful in this process are, if you could trade jobs with anybody, who would it be and why? And the last question is, if I could attempt something knowing that I would not fail, what would it be? That one's important because we learn from failure and sometimes we forget that. I'll repeat that last question again because I think it's the most important and impactful. What would you attempt if you knew you could not fail? I hope this was of help to you guys today. Like always, comment below, like, share, subscribe, and pay attention to your newsfeed because I'll be popping out more videos shortly. Have a great day, everybody.